All right, folks, good morning. All right, let's get started. Okay, for today, the 31st of July, we have the following. Today's a big day, guys. So let's just go over it really quickly here. So the biggest thing, I'm just going to skip ahead, is today we have the federal funds rate, which will be decided at 2 o'clock Eastern. Consensus is that the Fed will not raise rates today. Or raise or lower, I should say, excuse me, that they're going to keep them the same. Obviously, the market will prefer that rates be lowered, but the expectation is that that will not happen at this meeting. And at two, we'll also have the FOMC statement, and then we'll have the FOMC press conference at 2:30. Now, before then, we have other news. We've already had non-farm ADP, non-farm employment change, which has come in lower than expected, which is actually good news for the market. The market wants to see numbers that are less than expected because that gives the Fed less incentive uh, to keep interest rates the same, more incentive to lower them. Employment cost index quarter over quarter came in less than expected, which is considered bad as well. At 9:45 p.m., we're going to have Chicago PMI, which is moderately important. At 10 a.m., we're going to have pending home sales month over month, which is very important. And of course, at 2 o'clock, we're going to have the federal funds rate. So basically, for today, we're going to have news coming out 15 minutes after the open, then 30 minutes after the open, and the biggest news coming out at 2 o'clock. So expect this to be a very volatile day. Hopefully, we find some good trends, but we'll find out, of course, when we get there. Now, looking at the markets, yesterday was quite bearish. The QQQ ETF traded lower, sharply lower. It gapped higher at first, but immediately started to sell off, especially after the economic data was finally out for the day, where most of the data came in stronger than expected. Now, currently, we have sharply gapped higher. This is one of the biggest gap higher ever. Um, it should be noted that we had a very sharp sell-off at the end of the day. This was mostly due to earnings for Microsoft, where we saw a sharp sell-off. Microsoft had its earnings come out, and at first, the stock was moving lower, sharply lower, but it's fully recovered. Microsoft almost to the point where it's back to where it closed yesterday. And the NASDAQ has clearly very sharply recovered as well. Okay. So let's take a look at the stocks which were moving yesterday. We were mostly on the bearish side of the market. I'll just mention a few stocks that were two stocks that were going up first. PayPal, which was initially bullish, it doesn't look that bullish on this chart, but it was up sharply after earnings the previous session. So um, PayPal moved up after that gap higher from earnings and was able to reach our target number one to the upside, 64.02. And then it peaked out of 65.06, which was a little bit shy of target number two to the upside. Uh, Meta was bullish at first, but only went halfway the distance, just over halfway to our target number one before collapsing. But the big news were the downward movers. These were where we saw the best opportunities. So, firstly, Tesla was bearish and able to reach target number two to the downside, 222.62. Nvidia was also bearish, able to reach target number two to the downside of 105.90. All these stocks went well below their targets number two. Next up is AMAT, which was also bearish, able to reach target number two to the downside of 200.35. It went down as low as 195.34, nearly basically more than $5 lower than our target number two, which is huge. And then lastly, we had Qualcomm, which also went far beyond our target number two to the downside of 171.95. Yesterday, Qualcomm bottomed out at 166.77. So about just over $4 below our target number two to the downside, which we all discussed in the coaching room. So yesterday was a really, really great day for trends, and it happened to be in the bearish direction. Now, as far as today's pre-market, here's what I see so far. We're just going to rocket through these. First up, I see Siri, but that's only up 0.81%. So I'm not sure why this showed up on my scan, but it doesn't qualify. Next up is IMNN, which is presently down. It's 49% plus on 3.8 million shares, is at least $1 per share. That definitely qualifies for our pre-market watch list for stocks. So we will add IMNN to our pre-market watch list. It was actually on our list yesterday as well. Next up, we have okay, this one that doesn't qualify. Next we have is MHUA. That one definitely is right. That's up about 35%, 34 million shares. It's at least $1 per share. Clearly had a massive rise and is selling off, but lots of movement. So we'll go ahead and add that MUHA to our pre-market watch list. Next up is NUZE, which is presently up 66%, 5.8 million shares. It's at least $1 per share. So we'll go ahead and add that to the pre-market watch list for stocks. Next up, NVIDIA might actually be up enough. Let's see. Yep, 7.37%. So NVIDIA currently up 7.3% on 15.4 million shares. Roughly, of course, it's way above $1 per share. So we will add NVIDIA to our list. Of course, NVDL, the ETF, would be up as well. That would be up, for those of you who look at that one, that would be up 14.5%. 2 million shares, that also qualifies. So I will put NVDL on the list, but it's just a 2 times leverage ETF of NVIDIA. And I think that's it. SERV is showing up, but it's only up 4%, so that doesn't qualify. All right, if you folks see any other stocks that meet all 4 of our criteria for the pre-market scan, let me know in the chat. Again, what we're looking for is NASDAQ listed stock that is trading at least $1 per share in the current pre-market. Also in this current pre-market session, it must have already traded at least 1 million shares of volume and must have achieved at least a 6% price change, positive or negative. As of right now, it must be at that point. AMD, let's take a look. Yep, that currently is up 7.9%, about 3 million shares, and of course it's way over $1 per share. NVD, let's see. That's another. How many ETFs do they have for NVIDIA? Currently down 14. Oh, that must be the bearish one. Currently down 14% on 5.2 million shares. And yep, we'll add that to the pre-market watch list as well. NVD, which if I'm correct is an inverse, yes, is an inverse ETF of NVIDIA. All right, folks. Other than that, looks like that's it. So we'll go ahead and wrap up for today. Please be sure to like the video. See, we have 10 likes, but more than 10 people watching. Please make sure to hit that like button. Greatly helps us with the YouTube algorithm as we continue to gain subscribers. And on that note, please be sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you get notifications each time we produce a new video. Other than that, for everyone who's part of the coaching program, I'll see you in the coaching room in about 22 minutes. If anyone is watching, nope, targets cannot exist until market open. They're generated based on the market open. So if anybody's watching this on a replay and you're not familiar with our company, please be sure to check out fundertrading.com, our website. You'll see a link in the description of this video. Other than that, everyone have a great trading session. I'll see you for tomorrow's pre-market pulse. Take care.